Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel, Open Mic, number 164. And tonight, wherever you're located in the world, we are going to be discussing Ashley Garth's case. This is part 2. We have Amy on. It's going to give us some more information about this case, fill us in on some things that, that most of us don't really understand, and some other things that we'll talk about as well. I do want to throw out that I do see Cheryl Samuels is in the chat. I want to welcome you. We understand you're Nicole's mom. I want to welcome you to the chat, and everyone else. This is about civil debate. That's fine. We understand that we're not trying to make light of any death in anybody's family. We'd never do that, ever. And to dredge up anything that's painful or hurtful. That's not what this is about, even though we understand your daughter's included. We get that. For most of us are parents, have children, had 5 myself. Well, 4 now, one of them's passed away. But we understand it. And but this is about what Amy feels is a wrongful conviction because of the way Ashley was represented in her case. And as part of the criminal justice system, which is something that we've at Foul Play and so many others have dove into because it is near and dear to our heart. We don't want the criminal justice system to just blasé give a pass to anyone that's guilty or convict anyone that's really innocent. And the facts matter. The details matter. How cases are handled matters. We understand that too. So anyway, with that said, everybody be civil, be decent, ask your questions. That's fine. Don't have a problem with that. But if there's, if things get sideways, it's not going to be allowed on my podcast. You're going to be shown the door. I hate that, but that's not what we're about. We're here for civil discussion. So with that said, I'm going to let everyone here in Discord say hello right quick. And then we're going to get started. First up, we have Alice.
Hi everyone on panel. Hi everyone in chat. It's great to see you all, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Amy's got for us tonight.
Thank you, Alice. We're trying to keep you up quite as late tonight as we did last night. And then next we have Amy. Hello, Amy.
Hello, everybody. Hi, everybody in chat. Nice to see that you joined, Cheryl. Again, I'm sorry for your loss. And like Jack said, we're not here to dredge up hurtful feelings or anything like that. This is just from a legal standpoint. And everybody deserves their voice to be heard.
Absolutely. Yep. Then we have Sister Susan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I look forward to learning more about this case. So far, it's been very interesting and compelling. And it'll be good to learn more.
Absolutely, because this case is complicated. And it gets even more complicated when other things get pulled into it. And then we have Sapphire Cop. Hey, thanks for coming, Sapphire.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always up for a good discussion.
Absolutely. And this case is, as I said, it's complicated. And other factors create even more complications around it. So, Amy, first up, you want me to pull up the PDF calendar? Is that the one you want me to pull up? Oh, the newspaper article.
Yeah, if you'd like to start with that, you can.
While you're doing that, Jack, I will give a shout out to who's in chat.
Please.
We have Cheryl Samuels, which is Nicole's mum. Welcome. And once again, sorry for your loss. We have GP. Hi, GP. Nice to see you. We've got Rhonda SD, Colette M, Gloria, Katie did it, Hello, ladies. Nice to see you. We've got Zilla 442. We've got who else have we got? Gloria. We've got Dawn Lucy. Dawn Lucy's joined us in chat. Oh, GP says that she is Nicole's aunt. So, sorry for your loss as well. It's lovely to see you in chat. And like my other panel members have said, we're here to learn about this case, and we are just looking for the truth. So I hope you like what we do and understand. And we're just trying to get voices out there, let voices be heard that don't normally get heard. So, but I think that's us for now, Jack. That's all I can see in chat for now. If you're lurking in the background and just listening, hello there. You don't have to speak. But if I've missed you, put another wee hello in, and we'll get to it when we get on a break or something like that. Oh, and Cher has just snuck in there at the bottom. Hi, Cher. Lovely to see you.
Thank you, Alice. Yeah, we'll get to you. You know, we appreciate the fact that not everyone wants to live chat. They're just here to listen, and that's fine. It's not a problem. Um, so
Hey,
first
Jack.
up, yep.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll let you go.
I was just going to say there was some discussion about some corrections you wanted to make from last week, just right quick before we get started. Did you want to do that?
Well, it was probably on my channel, just with all of my notes and all of the files that I have that I've been going through and everything that we've been putting up in the Dropbox. And I know that me and Travis had done a lot of that stuff last week. I might have misconstrued where Detective Michael Rowe was from. I know he's from Newton County. He's the one who sent us the interrogation tapes. And then
Okay.
with all the news articles, as you can see right here at the top, it says West Lafayette mom murdered near Kentland. So if I discussed the murder or her being from Kentland, that's where it came from. It was just off of a news article that I might have had in front of me.
I got you. I understand. All right. Thank you for that correction. Okay. This is the newspaper article. Brutal details surface with the new charges in West Lafayette mom's murder near Kentland. Court documents with a new murder charge in the strangulation death of Nicole Bowen contend Ashely Garth knotted an extension cord, telling the killer, quote, "I know you're going to need this," end quote.
Right. Well, the significance of this article is the date and when Garrett started changing his story. Because initially, like a lot of things in this case, there were a lot of things that weren't brought to the surface in Ashely's trial that that Ashely really thought was going to come out at her trial, but due to the lack of work that her attorney did, there was a lot of things, and one of them being, that and the prosecutor objecting to the interrogation video being played, where Garrett actually accuses Chris Mathis of killing Nicole. But the date on this is December 19th, 2019, and it was around that time that Garrett started changing his story. This was also around the time that Garrett was being pressed really hard in the Delphi case, and he was being told that Ashely was basically communicating with the investigators on that case that Garrett had something to do with the Delphi murders. So he began implicating her in this. And this case is so complicated and so in depth that you have to go back to the beginning, which is where I started last week, which is why I sent you the calendar of events, so we could go back and touch base and recap. But this article was important because of the timeline, and it gives you a little bit more detail of what Garrett at this point in time was saying happened. But Ashely's DNA was not on the cord. Ashley's DNA was on the scarf. It was touch DNA, and it was under Nicole's fingernails. But Ashly conceded to all of that prior to the DNA even coming back, because Ashly and Nicole did get into a fight. Neither one of them knew the other was going to be in the same place at the same time. That was something that Garrett had orchestrated, and I personally believe, based on the communication that I've had with the individuals surrounding this event, that Talitha and Jasmine were fully aware of what was going to happen, because Talitha and Jasmine were at Ray's with Garrett and Nicole. And it's unfortunate that that is the scenario that took place, but when you look at Jasmine Parker, her only connection to any of this is the fact that her and Chris Mathis were somewhat of an item, and all of them had been over at Ray's. So I don't know if we want to go back and recap and kind of go over where we started last week, since there are so many players in this, and lead into...
That's probably a good idea. I mean, I can pull up the PDF
I
calendar
agree.
or the Word document, whichever one you want.
You can start with January.
Yeah, but which document, the PDF or the Word?
Whichever one comes up easiest for you. I sent them both because I wanted to make sure they both open.
Yeah, I'll just pull up the PDF.
December 19th, 2019, Travis.
Okay.
No, that's March. We need January.
Oh, that's the Word document. Okay. Well,
I think it was the first one I sent you today.
okay. Maybe I missed it. Hold on. Apologies. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
While you're doing that, Jack, Under Your Scars has joined us in chat. Hi, Under Your Scars. Lovely to see you. Travis has joined us. Ronald D. Cass has joined us. I'm so glad your surgery went well. Hope your recovery period isn't too long or painful. Sending good vibes. So welcome everyone. Great to see you. Justine J. Hi, Justine. Nice to see you.
Okay. It's up. It's a photo. Yep.
Okay. Oh, that came through as a JPEG. Okay. Yeah, I was saving them in different files so I could upload them later to a different source. Okay, and so based on family, Ashley's family, Ashly herself, court documents, the my case summaries for Garrett on this case, for the sake of everything making sense, we started on the downward spiral in January. According to Ashly, she believes, now she could be wrong, but that her and Garrett met Nicole Bowen around the first week of January.
And this is what year?
2019.
Okay.
So she believes it was the first week in January. They were all, Garrett and Ashly had stopped by a guy's house by the name of, his initials are RS. I'm not going to put his name out there. Nicole was there with a young man by the name of Caleb, and Ashly believes that's the first time that she encountered Nicole, and she thought it was the first time that Garrett had too. She said it did not appear that they knew each other. Then moving on to the middle of January, around this time, things had been rocky between the two of them, according to the family, according to Ashley. Anytime Garrett would do what Garrett wanted to do, he stole rent money, he was taking money to buy drugs, and she had had enough, and she said that she had put him out of the house. If you look at that, around the 15th, the 16th of January, that's when that happened. The green line throughout that week, she claims that he was constantly harassing, he was threatening, he slashed the tires on her car. And lo and behold, on that 21st is when he broke into her house and waited for hours. And
That's when he had the plastic in the bathtub.
He had disconnected the pipes in the bathtub, and he was installing bigger pipes. He had the bathtub lined with plastic and a hacksaw. I'm waiting on, again, the report to come from Carroll County on that. I had requested it by mail, and it has not come. I've called and left a message. They've not returned my calls, and now when I go on the site, now they have a whole new document that you have to fill out and mail back in order to request records.
Did they take photos as well?
Yes, they did. According to the clerk of courts there, they did. So that is the paperwork that I sent in for that report, and the photos should be coming as well. Now, there's a little bit of mystery surrounding what all they got photos of, because a couple of her family members they don't know if the police actually went in and took photos in the bathroom. They did, I believe, take pictures of Ashley and the bedroom. He pretty much did the same thing to her that he did Nicole. He duct taped her, he hog-tied her, he kicked her, he beat her, he strangled her unconscious multiple times. And
I would be surprised if they didn't take photos of the bathroom if he had lined it with plastic, had a hacksaw. No, that's key.
Exactly. Well, that's what her family said, and that is why the family was so outraged that those charges were only an F6 as a strangulation charge and not attempted murder. And he was let out of jail on the 28th. He posted a $500 bond, so he really only spent exactly a week in jail for that.
Wow.
So
basically, if it had been charged with attempted murder, his bond would probably been extremely high, and he probably wouldn't have been able to afford to get out.
Exactly, and Nicole and Ray Hainish would both still be alive.
Yep.
So,
okay.
And the prosecutor in that is Nicholas McClelland. He's the prosecutor in the Delphi case. This particular case, the F6 case, was drug out for over a year and was eventually dismissed in October of 2020.
Wow.
There were several pretrial hearings. There were several transportation motions put in to transport Garrett from the Newton County Jail to Carroll County for this case, but each time they were canceled, and the trial in this case was postponed, and ultimately it was dismissed.
Wow.
On the 22nd, or the 21st of January, going into January 22nd, there was also that order of protection against Garrett. He wasn't allowed to be around Ashley. And then in March, he in March, I believe it was January, he violated it again. He was only out a couple of days, and he violated the restraining order.
And went back to her house or approached her in some fashion?
He went back to her house and came in the back door, and Ashley's, her stepdad was home. He was there and called the police, and he was arrested, and he bonded out the same day, and he was charged with, invading privacy. Didn't charge him with violating the restraining order.
Wow.
Don Lucy says, I want to know why those charges in Carroll County were dismissed.
That's a good question.
It's a good question.
It really is.
Yeah. It's a good question why he wasn't charged for attempted murder. And then,
right.
even with the F6 strangulation, which that's just an odd charge to me. We don't have that here, but I know Indiana is different. The fact that even with the felony charge against him and he's out on bond and he violates the restraining order, the protection order, he's let out again.
He should. I mean, to me, he should have been. This is just an opinion now. I'm not a lawyer, guys out there that are listening. He should have been rejailed and his bond increased. That's just me. But a $500 bond for everything that he did to Ashley, beat the hell out of her, strangled her to unconsciousness, had the bathroom lined with plastic and a hacksaw in there. And I don't know what else he may have had, but I mean, to me, that sounds to me like he brought a kit with him and was ready to kill her.
Yeah. Well, he had been threatening her he had been threatened the whole week that he went through the ordeal of slashing her tires. He had been threatening her that he was going to kill her. And, this is one of those things where because this case never actually went to trial, it was considered an alleged incident. In Ashley's trial with Nicole's case, it really wasn't a pliable defense, which anything else compiled in this case that her attorney did not do.
Right.
It's just, it just stacks.
Okay. All right. Are you done with this particular slide?
Sure. Yeah.
Amy?
Yeah, we can move on.
You tell me where you want to go next.
I mean, just the fact that there was a restraining order on this guy, and he went to her house, walked in the back door, and he only got done for invading privacy. I mean, to me, that is ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
That he should have at least got a couple of months, 6 months or whatever, for violating the restraining order, period. I mean, what were the police thinking? I mean, because I remember last week you were saying that Ashley was actually at the house with her stepdad.
Yes, they were actually packing up belongings. She was moving into her grandmother's. They were packing up belongings when he showed up.
Right. So, I mean, that whether the stepfather was there or not, he should have been lifted on the fact that he's just broke that bloody restraining order. And like you say, maybe if the charges for violating the restraining order,
that's really up to the that's up to the prosecutor, though, Alice. I mean, the police can arrest on a certain charge, but then it's really up to the prosecutor as what he's going to actually do, if he's going to reduce the charge or add something to it. And I don't really understand why he would. I don't really get it why he would do this. We need to understand that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's to me it's ludicrous, Jack, that he hasn't been lifted on this order. Does that mean in that state it doesn't matter whether it's a domestic violence woman or a domestic violence man victim and they get a restraining order? That restraining order is worthless. It's useless, especially if the cops or the prosecutor isn't going to enforce that. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable.
Well, and the thing is that I'm going to address a comment in the chat really quick to Cold Truth. I understand that you don't like Ashley and that you have your opinion of the situation and you have an opinion about the way that she behaved in court. But when you're sitting on trial almost for your life for a crime that you didn't commit, there's a good possibility that you could be mistaken frustration and anger, having to sit there and be quiet, and your attorney is not defending you the way that she should be. There's two sides to every story here, and all I'm asking is that you allow the other side to be told for once.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the cold hard truth. Not to quote your username. We understand. We really do. I mean, the other
Right.
cases that we've been involved in, there is the other side. And that frustration often comes out when something is being said that about someone they feel is shouldn't
Right.
be, or their lawyers not defending them the way they should. It's very frustrating because they're limited. They're basically trapped. And there's very little they can do at all.
Right.
Yeah,
And she, I mean, when you go, when you go through the timeline of events leading up to how Ashley, the misconceived stories, it was stated that, Ashley was at this trailer waiting for Nicole. Ashley had helped plan this event, and that is not true at all. Ashley was attacked again by Garrett on March 25th. I think last week we showed the medical report, which the medical records from White County Hospital, that was something that Lori James was supposed to obtain and did not. Garrett showed up at her house again because the police had been at her house looking for Garrett because him and Nicole had been arrested in Ray's car. And that is what led the police to Garrett in the connection with the Ray Hainish case. But he took Ashley to Jasmine Parker's house looking for Chris Mathis. Then he left her there for almost 10 hours. And when he came back, he had Nicole with him. And the individual who was with Garrett all day long even states that when he picked Garrett up from Jasmine's trailer, Ashley was not happy. She did not want to be there. She wanted to go home. Garrett said he would take her home when he got back. When he came back hours later, he had Nicole with him. And I think this was a whole ordeal that he orchestrated in the chaos because I think that he thought Nicole was going to tell about what happened to Ray. Garrett was not a drug dealer. He wanted to make it out like he was in a gang, he was a drug dealer, and he had all these high connections. There's no one that I've been in contact with that can confirm that at all. He was out there, I think that he went to Ray's, he robbed Ray, stole his car, stole things from his apartment, and I think that Nicole was starting to feel the heat, and he was afraid she was going to tell. And Talitha and Jasmine, all of them that had been over there partying when all of that transpired, felt she was a threat too. Ashley was not there. Ashley was put into the middle of this.
yeah, and just something else I'd like to point out as well is that I see the comment about how she acted and things like that, but what you've also got to remember is that these people are told do not have any reaction in court, So if their lawyers tell, and I only know that because it's happened in a case that I'm working on, the Luke Mitchell case here in the UK is a wrongful conviction, and his lawyers in that told him, do not react to anything, don't greet, don't shout, don't fidget, don't, and that got held against Luke as well. And the media, he sat there stone faced. There was no reaction. There was no nothing. But then the laddie broke down into tears as soon as he got taken down for the dock. So it's hard to judge people, I think, on the reactions sometimes in courts because they're told not to have any reactions, and then they can't win no matter what with the media and other people observing, because if they are stoic and stone-faced and everything, then they're cold-hearted, they're callous, they're this and they're that. But if they are sitting there showing emotion, crying or whatever, then it's crocodile tears and how dare they and everything like that, So we have to be on a balance with that, I think. You can't always judge people for with the way that they react in court. You get some that just blatantly don't care, and they have an attitude in court and everything like that. And then you get the ones that sit there and don't do nothing, you know, but then they get vilified because they're no doing nothing, and they get vilified if they do something. So it's a no-win situation in that point, I think. I mean, I don't know if anybody else thinks that, but that is my opinion of
No,
that
that's
kind of
absolutely,
scenario.
that's absolutely correct in the fact too that for months, you know, she's taking the advice of her attorney. She's not speaking to the media. She's not out in the public whatsoever. And then you've got a no contact order that's in by the judge, and all of the co-defendants in this case cannot communicate. Yet Garrett Kurtz is allowed to go publicly on a YouTube channel and tell horrible lies and make horrible accusations that everybody in the community around that area was listening to day in and day out. Everybody was doing podcasts on it. Everybody was doing YouTube channels on it. And 90% of what he was saying out of his mouth was not true. And everyone knows that. But yet he walks into a courtroom and wants to shave a little bit of time off of his own hide before going to prison to take somebody else down with him, and they believe what he says. And it's insane to me that you have letters that this man wrote basically telling it all and saying that Ashley didn't participate and he was going to take her down anyway, and the judge won't allow it. That doesn't make that is a one-sided courtroom. So everyone needs to understand that Ashley was not arrogant, and that was not Nicole's hat.
By
Well,
the way,
I'm
Amy, I put up on the screen this,
I see it.
yeah,
I
for
see it.
March 25th, 2019. I pulled it up from last week's stuff you sent me.
Yes, that was the date that Garrett put her in the hospital. That was
Right.
from that point on, Garrett would not let Ashley go. They were picked up by a young man that I have spoken to. He is willing to come to court. He was never talked to. He was never called by the prosecutor or Ashley's attorney. And he said emphatically that Ashley looked beat up and she had marks all over her neck again, and that they got in the car, and he immediately wanted Ashley to go with him back to his house because he was concerned for her. He said Ashley was scared. She wasn't saying anything. Garrett proceeded to tell him that Ashley had been in an ATV accident, and he pulled out a knife to let him know that, hey, you're going to take us where we want to go. So
Surely the police took some photos of that day.
no, not
Or
that time, because Garrett, no, they did not. The police were not involved on the 25th.
gotcha.
From there, he took her to Jasmine's house, and that's where he left her until he came back. And you can go ahead, Jack, and you can pull up Ashley's picture of her in the hat with the date on it.
There's a couple of comments in chat. GP says, okay, but you don't understand that while we was in court, they giggled about it. They had a good old time. We wasn't there for a good old time. We was there because Nicole was murdered. Yeah, and if that happened in court, then that is wrong.
Right.
It's just not right. Cold Truth says, she was arrogant. Ashley wore the murder victim's hat to her interrogation.
Those are pictures that her family, her family has sent me from their home computer, from their Google Drive. It's dated March 10th. That was a birthday party for her niece, and it's dated March 10th, 2019.
They're saying that's not the hat.
Okay, well, that is the hat that Ashley owned. That's the hat of all of the pictures that I have of her in. Ashley said that she never touched her hat, and according to the family, that is not the hat.
Okay.
As far as giggling in court, sometimes lawyers will say something to their client to kind of lighten the mood, and that has nothing to do with what's going on, and it can look bad. I recall Brendan at one time in court. The lawyer had said something to him privately, and he smiled and kind of giggled.
For levity.
But for levity, yeah. And I think that actually happens quite often, and people take it the wrong way.
And, and I can understand, everybody, and I've, just so everybody is clear, I lost my sister in a domestic violence situation. She was killed in 2007. And I know how it feels to lose someone, and I know what someone who is terribly afraid, the amount of things that they will put themselves through to keep them out of harm's way. So I understand fully everybody has their opinion on things, and I don't believe that. First of all, I'm not going to be manipulated by someone that's in prison. That's not happening here. I am following all of the information that I am collecting. I am following the conversations of the people who I've been pointed to in their direction that interacted during these times. This was not information that came out at Ashely's trial, and it should have. This information leading up to how Ashely got to that trailer, and the fact that Ashely did not know Chris Mathis, the fact that Ashely did not know Jasmine Parker, and the fact that Ashely did not know Nicole was coming. If Mikey Hiddle would have been put on the stand, he was subpoenaed, he was called in as a witness, he was left to sit out in the hallway, he was told he was not needed and he was free to go. He had the information right there at the courthouse to blow the prosecutor's entire conspiracy theory out of the water. He would have taken the stand and said that he was with Garrett when they accidentally ran into Nicole when they were leaving Jason Palladino's house on the road. Garrett got out of his car and hopped in Nicole's car. And from there, they all went back to Mikey Hiddle's house. I have Talitha's deposition here. Talitha says they were all at Mikey Hiddle's house. From there, Garrett, Talitha, and Nicole left and went to Jasmine Parker's trailer. Ashely had no idea Nicole was being brought there. Now you tell me, what kind of reaction would you get after going through what she had gone through and she's being left here at this house? Do you think that she's thinking that she's about to be put into a situation like this? No, she's sitting there ticked off, mad. She wants to go home. She's waiting for him to come back, and then he comes walking in with his new girlfriend, and both of them are like, what the hell are you doing here? What is she doing here? It was a chaotic scene, and they got into a fight. But Garrett punched Ashely to break them up and then grab Nicole. And we have the photos of Garrett's arms. I mean, what he did to Nicole was horrendous. Ashely, even she says she just can't believe that he was capable of doing that, but she didn't help him. She didn't give him a cord. She didn't do anything. She ran to the bedroom screaming, and Jasmine and Talitha told her to shut up and to stay in the bedroom. So
yeah, cold truth. We are open-minded. We want to hear both sides, but as I understand it, from what Amy has presented, we don't do this lightly, but from what Amy has presented, there are questions that need to be answered in this case. And I think it's only fair that Ashely be given a chance to get her truth out, what she understands as her truth. And we ask for that fair minute as well. We're not trying to, we're never about bright lights in the spotlight or egos or anything like that. We're looking for the truth. And if the prosecutor withheld a pivotal witness out of the case, told this guy he wasn't needed. That's really questionable. It really is. And these other statements that were made that were never entered in Ashley's defense.
Hmm. And the fact that, through the course of the media and the open secrets videos that were put out there, a lot of people, even now, a lot of people know that Nicole was with Garrett at Ray's, and no one still wants to say that out loud. And I feel bad. I feel bad for Nicole's family. I feel bad for Ray's family, but that doesn't mean that the person. Yes, Hiddle was a prosecutor witness, but he did not take the stand. He was let out of his subpoena and told he was free to go. He was not put on the stand.
And that's really unfortunate too that it wasn't captured at trial, because the trial, as we've learned pretty much in every state, what happens at trial is the golden ticket, and it's really difficult to undo that or to get something added to in an appeal process. So
Right. And the fact that these other witnesses were not brought in or ever even questioned.
right,
When it was led to believe by everyone, the court, the prosecutor, and the prosecutor is the one, filling out these documents. When you read through these transcripts, they're still saying allegedly Ashley was strangled by Garrett. Allegedly this happened. No, those are facts. And they were never brought into Ashley's trial. These people that I've been in contact to until 7 months ago, when I started working on Ashley's case, none of these names were ever even brought out into the public. I guarantee you that no one knew that Ashley had been put in the hospital on the 25th. I guarantee you that no one knows that Garrett took Ashley somewhere else after Nicole was killed, and she basically had to plead for her life to this person, like, get me away from him. He just killed someone. And I mean, there's so much involved here, and the sad thing is that I understand that tensions are going to run high, and the only people to blame is the court system for allowing this to go on and for wanting to get a slam dunk case in a big, high profile case in a small town. It's just unfortunate, but we see it happen all the time.
sure. It is, and it's really difficult to undo. Once you're,
It really is.
once the media grabs a hold of it, and we see this in many cases. It happened in the Avery Dassey case. It's happened in so many cases. Daniel Holtzclaw. Once the media gets a hold of it, this is a big cash register for them, and whatever sells is what they're going to put out. And they have to maintain this cordial type relationship with law enforcement, because this is a big meal ticket for them. It's a fact.
Yeah, but not only that, Jack. I mean, it's not just the media that comes out and goes rife for all the information and talking to people who knew Nicole, talking to people who know Ashley, talking to people who know Gareth. Some of these people crawl out of the woodwork, because they want their 5 minutes of fame. And whether it's oh yeah, I knew Nicole and she was lovely and she was this and she was that, or it could be the complete opposite. I knew Nicole and Ashley and they were horrible people and stuff like that. But you do. I mean, I'm not saying that at all, because I don't know these ladies at all. I bet they were both beautiful people, but what I'm trying to say is that you get these people coming out the woodwork like that maybe none of them have seen in like 5 years or something like that, but all of a sudden they're coming to the forefront and they're having their wee 2-minute interview or whatever, because the news media is involved. We've seen it happen in Stephen and Brendan's case. We've seen it happen in Daniel's case, and we've definitely seen it happening in Luke's case. So I'm not thinking that it's going to be any different in any of the states in America when it comes to the media and the things that they say in the media, and the people that they go, it's not necessarily that these people come out the woodwork, it's the media that go looking for these people, because they'll go onto Facebook and they'll go to their friends list and they'll just go through the list and they'll pick out, oh, this person, that person, this person, and we'll get in touch with them, and they might not have seen them for 5-10 years, but they'll still make a comment,
Right.
or they were really lovely, or they were horrible, or they were dreadful people, they were devil worshippers, they were, you know what I mean? And it's just like a circle, and it just keeps going and going and going. But it only takes people like Amy and people like Nicole's family and things like that come and speak about it to try and put the truths out there about the people that are involved in the case,
That's the unfortunate part. We get these snapshots of time, and this is just the way I look at it. They're moments. They're actually moments in real time, and I try to put myself back in that situation because you can't get the full thing without somebody following you around with a video camera 24/7. You're getting this little piece. Sometimes those pieces are used, certainly in the media, and it colors people's perception one
Well,
way
it
or
really
the other.
does.
It
And
does.
when you live in when you live in a small community like Ashley and her family did, it's
Oh, it runs like wildfire.
it really, right. And I and I don't, I talk with Ashley every day, and sometimes multiple times a day, and she's cried to me about this. Not and you and everyone in the chat who is against Ashley can say what they want to say, but when I've talked to these people, and as early as this past Friday, I was in communication with one of her witnesses, and I'm going to tell you word for word what he said when it came to Ashley being held against her will. He said absolutely she was terrified, and when I got him off the property, she could not stop crying. So why was his testimony never fully heard at trial? I don't
Right.
understand. If someone is guilty, bring it all in. Bring it all in. That did not happen here. And Travis, the judge did not allow the case in Carroll County to be brought in as evidence because the case had not gone to trial yet. Just like Ray's case, with the charges against Garrett weren't filed until after Ashley's case. Because I believe that Ray's case was the motive in Nicole's case. Nicole was killed because they did not want her to tell on them for what happened at Ray's house. And Garrett believed that she was going to tell because when him and her were arrested in Tippecanoe County on March 18th in Ray's car, there were drugs in the car. And when she went into the jail, she wrote a statement to the police about the drugs belonging to Garrett and where the drugs came from. So that right there was a red flag to Garrett that, if she's going to tell on me about drugs, she's going to tell on everything.
Well, sure. I fully believe that he's a psychopath. I mean, just the actions that you've told us about, and what I've read and seen in the various newspaper clippings, and if they're to be believed, in these YouTube videos, his changing statements. To me, he's just a psychopath and a pathological liar.
Mm-hmm. So he
All right.
did this. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what do you want me to put up next? And while you're talking, I can get it up.
Well, on you go, Amy.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's just a comment in chat from Cheryl Samuels. She says, I am curious, do you have the transcripts from the day Nicole's oldest boy read his victim impact statement? He is the reason Judge Malter did not accept Ashley's plea bargain that day.
Yeah, I do have that. Yes, I do. that doesn't make her, in my opinion, that does not make her guilty. I understand that Nicole's son was hurting. At the same time, the judge also, did he not also state too that he lost his mother at a young age and he had to grow up without his mother? You know, the judge kind of crossed the line there as well.
Yeah. Travis in chat, Amy, he says, I don't care what came in, what didn't come in. Why did Ashely want the evidence of the domestic violence to come in?
Because it showed what Garrett was capable of, and it showed
The
that
pattern.
he had done this
The
pattern,
pattern.
right?
Yep.
That's 3 in a row. She was first, and if he had not been interrupted, she might not be here. That's why it needed. That's why it needed to go.
I think he. I mean, just from what we can see, I'm just looking from from the air at 50,000 feet, looking down at this guy. To me, he was on a spree, and it's hard to say how many people he would have seriously hurt or killed.
And he's somebody too that, I mean, he lashes out so quickly, and he wants to just hurt people. And I feel that because Ashely, you know, he knew going into the late January, beginning of March, Ashely had up and moved to Florida back in 2017 to get away from him. She was in Florida for almost a year, getting her life together.
He followed her down there, didn't he?
No. She came back, and like most women who are submissive in a domestic violence situation, she ended up taking him back. But she knows that was probably the biggest mistake of her life. And come January, when she was done, he wasn't having it. And that's why January 21st happened. And I'm not trying to implode the event on January 21st if it's any bigger than what happened to Ray or Nicole in March. What I'm saying is the same thing was done to her, and it should have been allowed to be brought into her trial. All of the events leading up to the trial should have been brought in, and what transpired immediately after, because it all tells a story that she was a victim. He was abusing her, he was in control of her, and he did this to save his own butt, thinking that Nicole was going to tell, and the others that were there who were also involved with Ray were involved with it too. That's why every single one of them kept their mouth shut. They seen nothing, they heard nothing, and as long as Garrett wasn't pointing the finger at them, they were happy to walk away with 5 or 6 years, which Jasmine, she's already walking the streets. She's already out.
Yeah, I bet they were glad to keep their mouth shut. I mean,
Yes, they were.
you're talking about taking somebody's liberty, and it's easy for us on the outside to kind of visualize that. But you think about being trapped in a 8x10 room. That's basically your home. That's a box.
Oh.
You get warehoused, and it's an unpleasant warehouse at that.
And I've been in contact with the investigator at the White County Prosecutor's Office, and I've also spoken with Detective Janke, and they have been told what information Ashley's old attorney has, that Garrett was writing her letters about Nicole, about Ray. And they know that they can go get those letters from Ashley's old attorney, and they know that Ashely is more than willing to speak with them, even though she doesn't know really what happened at Ray's house. She only can tell them what Garrett wrote in letters that she turned immediately over to her attorney. But Ashley's not involved in Ray's case for a reason, and that's because she wasn't there. But Talitha Beckley is, and that's why Talitha Beckley was subpoenaed in the grand jury when Garrett was indicted for Ray's case, because they were all involved.
Did you? What did you want me to put up next, Amy? I could go ahead and get it up while we're talking here.
I don't know if there's anything else other than I don't think there's anything else that we need to put up. It's just a matter of I hate getting sidetracked with the going back and forth, because there's a lot more to this case then.
Yeah, but it
And
happens. You know, don't worry about it. It happens. It happens to even to this day. And we've been talking about the Avery Dassey cases for years, and we still get sidetracked off into, kind of off topic of what we were talking about. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Travis, Nicole's toxicology at autopsy was not, she had a lot of drugs in her system. I believe they all did. Ashley doesn't deny that she was in and out of the drug scene. She's admitted that. So, anyway, I don't know if you want to pull up March. I think the March calendar we haven't gone over yet.
Yep, I'll get it up right now. That's a PDF. Yep. Okay, just a second. I'll turn that on.
Amy, Travis is asking, what was Nicole's toxicology at autopsy? Do we know the levels?
We haven't gotten those yet. The actual levels. I know that there was a lot of she had, I believe, methamphetamines in her system, and some other things. It was extremely high. But we have not gotten all of those. They have to understand that these kinds of documents take time. It took me 3 months to get all of these videos that Jack tried to help me with this weekend. We got all of the videos, but they sent no audio. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I can pull up a couple of these videos and just show that we've got them, but there's no audio. And I've tried 4 or 5 apps. There's only one app that I have. It's an old app that I can even get to play the video, but there doesn't seem to be an audio track. So Ashley or Amy's gonna have to get in touch with this department and get them to correct that. I actually while we're talking about this, I'll get that pulled up and I can show a little bit.
Yeah, I emailed Detective Rowe about that. So I don't know if they're going to have to send all new files or what, but it's just unfortunate that we waited this long.
Yeah. I think they're going to have to redo whatever they've done because I like again the one app that I do have that will play. I'll show it here in a few minutes when I get it pulled up and loaded. There doesn't seem to be an audio track with it at all because it's grayed out. And normally this program you can do pretty much anything with a video file or even an audio file, and it just doesn't seem to be there at all. But go ahead. I got the calendar up.
Okay. Ashely got 48 years. Yes, can you scroll down into the actual calendar? You can look at the dates of where everything transpired. And when you look at the charges that Ashely got, okay, from January 28th, the month prior, January 28th is when Garrett violated the restraining order. 14 days later, Ray is murdered. And we all know that Garrett and Nicole were at Ray's prior to the 13th. So when all of these days here, the unknown events that were going on at Ray's house, the partying, I know that there was an individual who dropped off drugs there who does not want to get involved with this case. Not many of these people surrounding this case are really quick to want to jump into a murder case. It's just not something that they want to do. I have had to beg and plead to get people to speak with me. Many of them don't want to speak because they feel that Garrett is where he should be, and I have to explain where I'm coming from, and then they kind of let their guard down like, oh, okay. But when you look at the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, where was the conspiracy? If you take Garrett's words at face value, that him and Ashely planned this with Nicole, when in the 60 days, in January and in March, did that transpire? Because I'm not seeing that, nor am I seeing it in the documents. I do believe that when Garrett took the stand, he stated that Ashely was not present when him and another individual had a conversation such as that. So if you take away the conspiracy charge, why would she be involved in a murder?
Right.
That is the bigger question here at hand.
Was that ever explained maybe in the pretrial or anything like that you found so far? Or no?
Not that I have found, no. Not that I have found, no.
I mean,
Amy,
the
can I ask a question? Was there anything mentioned during the trial or anything like that about Nicole maybe being forced to take the drugs or anything like that? Or was she a
No,
drug
I don't.
taker?
I believe they were all into, I know that, I believe they were all into meth. I don't believe that Nicole was forced to do any drugs. I, I think Ashley, Ashley believes that based on what was said at the trailer after this happened and what they did, that this was all planned. That Garrett wanted Ashley gone and he wanted Nicole gone, and bringing Nicole there. And it was basically an opportunity where he could create chaos, and he was able to get away with it, or at least he thought he was going to be able to get away with it. Talitha knew what was going to happen. She rode in the car with Garrett there. Ashley claimed that she had been trying to get Jasmine to get a hold of Garrett because she didn't have a phone, that Ashley did not have a phone that worked. If everyone remembers from last week when we talked about this, Garrett had taken Ashley's phone on
Right.
January 21st and she never got it back. That's how her phone was found at Ray's apartment. So Ashley said she had even used Jasmine's phone to try to message Talitha because she knew Talitha lived on the property on Hodges Road where Garrett and them were supposed to be going, wanting to know when he was coming back. And she said Talitha never answered her on Facebook, that Talitha blocked her. And that was done on Jasmine's phone. And if you read Kevin Dowden's deposition, he claims in his depositions that he's the one who took all of the evidence of the phones, but I have yet to get any information on the phones.
Well, that should all be
Jasmine's phones,
that should all be available. You know, if they went
that
into
should
it and
all
took it.
be
Yeah, I mean, her call
for
records
discovery. Yes.
and all of the metadata
Lori
of
James.
GPS locations of that phone. Unless it's, well, they would have that if they ran it.
Well, you guys, but you, Jack, you know that getting this information is not easy.
Oh yeah.
So when you look at March, you've got Ray was murdered on the 13th. There was 3 or 4 days in there where we don't know what was really going on at Ray's apartment, other than the fact that even his family agrees that there was something going on because it was destroyed. There was a party or something going on. There's also been statements from people that I've spoken to that there was drug paraphernalia delivered there, and that person believes that it may have been after Ray had been murdered. They weren't aware of it until after all of this came out, because if you remember correctly, Ray was murdered on the 13th, and his family was told that he died of natural causes. But it wasn't until September that his cause of death came out, and they had changed it to homicide by strangulation due to, what's the word? With the ligature.
Ligature. So 6 months
Yes,
basically.
yes.
6 months later they changed his cause of death.
Correct. And right, 6 months later. So for 6 months, Ray's murder went uninvestigated.
Wow.
So
Wow. Sorry, Amy. Travis in chat says the conspiracy charge was based on the meeting with Palladino. Quote, she needs to be gone, unquote. And that came from Garrett, right? I guess they got a statement from Palladino.
no, they never talked to Palladino. He never came forward. He never took the stand, but he was mentioned in the trial a lot, and he's even mentioned in the appeal. I don't know
That's
how you, I don't, isn't, that is, what do you have to say about that, Jack?
If they're going to mention him in there, there should be a statement from him, because that's. I mean, Travis would have to answer this, but that's hearsay. I mean, to me, or I'm some other word, but if they didn't have an interview from him, how can they include him in an appeal document? You need that.
So, no, Travis, they never charged Palladino with anything. Ashely was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, and that is not what she did. When you look at these 2 months of events, you can see clearly that there's no room in here for her, while she's living at home, to be running around with Garrett, conspiring to kill Nicole, when Nicole and Garrett are over at Ray's doing whatever they were doing over there.
Well, I mean, you would think they would have to, the prosecutor would need to present some documentation to prove this conspiracy link. It's just, just getting up in court and saying it, unless he did and the lawyer didn't do anything. You got to prove it.
Did nothing.
And you see that's and that's the.
When you and I think I think that she was outgunned. I really do. I feel like this was her first murder case that she handled, and I just really feel that she was not equipped to take it on.
That's what it sounds like. She was overborn.
Mm-hmm.
And so quick question. I'm assuming that Ashely had no connection to Ray's murder, correct? Only Garrett and Nicole?
No.
So
Nicole and whoever else was over there partying, either during or after the fact, because his body was in the apartment. That's where his body was found.
And he was strangled, correct?
Correct.
So that's very confusing to me, because how could any coroner, medical examiner, etc., call someone's death natural causes when there would be clear, not only ligature marks around the neck, but petechial hemorrhaging in the eyes? That's inescapable. So how could they see those things and say, oh, natural causes?
And that's exactly the problem in both cases. It's the lack of investigating. It's the lack of telling the truth. And we are. I mean, but it is a fact that it was stated that he died of natural causes. And they were pretty much told because he had, he was a gay man and he just lived, but that doesn't mean that he deserved that. They passed it off as, it is what it is. It's his lifestyle. And that really wasn't the case. Ray was a great man. He was a nurse. He had a lot of people who loved him. And it means that he doesn't deserve justice, just like Nicole deserves justice. But there's a person in prison right now who is not bringing Nicole justice.
So
everybody counts.
Those are not Ashely's Facebook posts. From January 21st on, Ashely did not have her phone.
Wow. Go ahead, Sarah.
What was there any motive that was brought up for Ashely at trial? I know they don't have to prove motive, but did they use motive?
A love triangle. It went from a love triangle, a conspiracy to commit murder, or a love triangle for someone who she had kicked out of her house, who had broken, strangled her, beat her, duct taped her, strangled her unconscious, then violated a restraining order, and then put her back in the hospital on the 25th. I'm sorry, there's more evidence there leaning against the love triangle than anything. The motive was Garrett wanted Nicole gone because he was afraid she was going to tell on all of him and his friends. And Ashely was someone that he could control, he could push around, and he had her there. This is my speculating. It's based on the conversations that I've had with Ashely. I think that Garrett was going to attempt to pit the two girls against each other to the point they would hurt each other so bad, and then he would just take them both out and call it a fight. Because it really does not make sense. And it makes less sense for Ashely to want to kill Nicole when, they didn't get along. I mean, they were, she was in the process of getting rid of Garrett. He was in the process of dating Nicole, and there was banter going on, but at the same time, Ashley wasn't running the streets with Garrett. It was Nicole. And I hate to say that, but that's what it was.
Well, getting this, well, I'm going to say this, and, people can take it as it is. There, probably in my mind, there would be a few exceptions to this unfairly. But the truth is, and for me in the criminal justice system, everybody counts or no one counts. It's got to be for everyone. And, we can't make these dividing lines because, and this is where the media comes in and the things that get said that dictate us one way or the other. We grab onto it, we latch onto it because it's like, well, what did that B word do? And it changes our perception. But the truth is, everybody has to count in this. And anyway, I'm really interested in this conspiracy charge, where it came from, and how the prosecutor presented anything towards that end.
Right. And it was literally Garrett's words.
Wow.
It was Garrett's words that changed numerous times. Now, that's why, again, when we go back to these interrogation videos, and according to Ashley, what Garrett says in his very first, because she has seen it. Remember, this is the same public defender who handed her discovery in a box and said, "Here, take it home. Look through it."
Wow.
And
That's insane.
She did. And she had all of her information. She had her whole case file in her hands. And she watched the videos. And she said in Garrett's first initial police interview that what he did in that interview, he basically tells the whole story, except he says Chris Mathis did it. And he is speaking in a third person. And Ashley said that when he hit her and she ran, because she said when he snatched Nicole up and she's seen him, she said like she knew, oh my God. And she knew what he was trying to do to her. And she ran. And she said from the bedroom door where she was screaming and watching him and trying to get Talitha and Jasmine to do something, that he believes Garrett killed her right there, standing up from behind. And that's why the pictures of his arm are so important, because those pictures were taken like 4 days after the fact, and you can clearly see the bruising on his arms. And Jack, I think that you have those.
Well, I mean,
yeah, go ahead, Alice.
I
wanted to say hello to Sister Rhonda. She's snuck in here.
Oh, hi, Rhonda.
Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry. I'm here.
You're fine.
Better late than never.
Travis, at the trial, Garrett admitted that Ashley was not present during a conversation that he had with Palladino about Garrett's intentions. These I believe were Garrett's intentions. According to the witness who never took the stand, which was Mikey Hiddle, and I'm putting his name out there because he's already put himself out there because he did an interview on another YouTube channel, and he stated that he didn't believe it was planned because he was with Talitha and Garrett when they accidentally ran into Nicole that day. But no, I don't believe that Palladino was never talked to. According to Lori James, Ashley's attorney, Jason refused to talk and claimed that I guess he was going to take the fifth. I don't even know how that's possible, if he's involved in a conspiracy to commit murder. But no one really knows why Jason Palladino was never talked to and why he was never brought in the courtroom to testify.
Well, I mean, we know it happens. We know that the police and the prosecutors and stuff like that do sometimes just take the word of one person. And the prime example of that is the Ryan Ferguson case that Kathleen Zellner got exonerated he got sentenced to life in jail because a guy he knew told the police that he had a dream that him and Ryan killed this reporter, you know,
Right.
and they arrested Ryan, they charged Ryan, and they sent him to jail, and he was absolutely innocent. So I
That was
mean, this
another
is
Kathleen Zellner's case, wasn't it? Kathleen
yes,
Zellner represented him.
Yep.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. She was on Daniel Holtzclaw's case before that, um, and that got. We're not quite sure what happened with that, but she ended up. I think she still had people working on Daniel's case, but she wasn't doing it herself, and she took Ryan's case, and she ended up getting Ryan exonerated. And that was all done to one person's word, you know, one person's confession. So it doesn't surprise me in the slightest
Right.
that they took just his word for it, you know. I mean, the more I'm hearing about this case, in my opinion, it looks like Ashley nor either Ashley or Nicole has had justice in this case. And that's I mean I'm keeping an open mind with the information and everything like that. So but so far from what I've heard and what I've seen and what I've read and what you've said, to me it's like Nicole or Ashley didn't get the justice that they deserved.
No. And Travis, no, yeah, he never came into the courtroom. That is what Ashley's attorney conveyed to her as to why Palladino wasn't being questioned. And I even have emails between Ashley and her attorney. Where Ashley is asking her attorney, have you spoken to Jason Palladino yet? And she said no, she was working on it and not to worry because she don't think anyone at this point in time believes a word Garrett has to say. But we see what happened at trial. So
Um,
So so Ashley was essentially convicted on Garrett's word and the
mhm.
fact that her
There wa-
skin or DNA or whatever was under Nicole's fingernails. Is that about the gist of it?
and
correct,
on
and there was
and a
yes,
scarf.
and there was touch DNA on the scarf, and Ashley, you know, there was this big hoopla that Ashley's plea was pulled because of the DNA, and that is not the case. Um, Ashley already knew her DNA would probably be somewhere because bottom line is Nicole hit Ashley first. That is in the paper, that is in Talitha's deposition, that is what Ashley stated, and it turned into a cat fight. It was two girls pulling each other's hair until Garrett jumped in. And with her being left there at that trailer, now you got to remember this is like a 900 square foot trailer. Ashley being left there, she said the scarf that I guess was around Nicole's neck, which she said she didn't know he put a scarf around her neck until she got her discovery through her attorney. And she said that scarf had been folded up on an end table next to the couch. And she said, I might have sat my glass of drink down there beside it. She goes, I don't know. I don't recall ever touching the scarf. But it's touch DNA and it's there. But the DNA under the fingernails, you know, she knew it was going to be there. Or it was going to be somewhere.
Um,
So, and the fact that Garrett, I mean, yeah, it's very frustrating. All of these people, you know, even after the fact that the Chris Spencer young lady who Garrett, Garrett and Talitha, you know, after they left Jasmine Parker's house, Ashley was forced into the back seat of Nicole's car. It's only two doors. There's no doors to open up in the back. It's, you know, it's doors. Was made to sit in the back seat. They then drove to some girl's house, were arrested. Garrett used Ray's money to bond himself out. And He then took the title of Nicole's car, and Talitha and him went to Chris Spencer, which was Talitha's friend, to hand the title to her in exchange for money to bond Nicole out of jail. So after March 29th, when he took Nicole's life, they drove Ashely in the back seat to this Chris Spencer's house to get Nicole's title. And they told Chris Spencer, hey, Nicole's mom is going to pay you for the title, but we have to take her the title first. So if you give it to us, we'll bring you back the money. We just dropped Nicole off at rehab. She never came forward after Nicole's death.
Yeah, I mean, it just, from what I'm hearing, it just sounds like there's
I
too
can
much.
go on and on and on. There's way
Uh,
too much.
That's what
Did
I'm saying. Go ahead.
did Garrett go to trial first?
Garrett took a plea deal. Garrett didn't go to trial. He took a plea year that saved him 5 years off of he was going to get 60 years. Got 55. Coming into
So
court.
he took a deal and wasn't going to go down alone, so he brought Ashely with him. That kind of sounds like where this is going to me.
Yep.
Right, and everybody else saw nothing and heard nothing. They were asleep. However, again, going back to Mikey Hiddle, who was with Garrett and Nicole, he came back to Jasmine's later that night. Later, after Garrett and Talitha, not Ashely, it was Talitha. Garrett and Talitha put Nicole in Nicole's trunk. Garrett leaves, goes and picks up Chris Mathis. They go and they drop off Nicole's body. They come back to Jasmine's. Mikey Hiddle returns late night, early morning hours. And guess who's up and guess who's hanging out? Garrett, Chris, Jasmine, and Talitha. Ashely is locked in the bedroom where they put her. He never seen Ashely again. Mikey did not. And that's what he would have testified to if he would have been put on the stand. Talitha wasn't asleep. Jasmine wasn't hiding when all of this was going on. That's why they all kept their mouths shut, because Garrett was blaming someone else. Because Ashely went to the police first and told on all of them.
Yeah, what we need, Sapper, in my opinion, is we need police reports and we need pretrial motions and hearings to
We're
begin
working
this
on it.
process. Yeah, I know it's expensive, $1.75 a page, and I don't know how much you had to pay for these videos. I popped this first one up. I'll go ahead and put it in the background here while we're talking, and kind of show you guys what. Again, this is the only program the only app that I've got that will even play the video. There's no sound.
It's just so frustrating if they would have done that on purpose.
So having been
Jasmine Parker.
having been in law enforcement in a heavy meth area, I can tell you firsthand that folks in that community will turn on each other for pennies. And they will never, at least from my experience, they're never going to go down alone. They're always going to bring other people with them, because typically, especially I don't know anything about this Garrett person, but just from reading a little bit about him from a Google search and listening to kind of how he's been talked about, and knowing the type of people that women beater are, they're cowards. So that kind of all goes in. It feels like a pretty clear story here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've got a menu bar open. For some reason it's not showing on screen. I don't know why, but it's got a bunch of things that you can do with this video. And when I go down to the audio track and the subtitle track, they're both grayed out. There's nothing there. I can't do anything at all. And I will point out one more thing that is on the video that you can see. If you look right here beside the timer, there's a speaker. There's a speaker there with an X. There's no audio. I'm convinced of it, Amy. There's no audio on these videos at all. They stripped it off.
You think they did that on purpose?
Well,
Jack,
I don't.
have you been through the whole thing? Like maybe it comes on when they come in the room.
Well, that's another thing. It will not let me scan forward. I can fast forward it, and I went up pretty far, but normally I can drag this bar wherever I want, but it won't let me do that either. It's like it's locked.
Huh.
That's why I was asking Amy earlier, because I just think back to the queso dispatch calls. You can't just play
I
them.
know.
You have to have the player that they included to unlock the file.
Right. Well,
Have you let it run until they come into the room?
Yeah, I'll fast forward it here.
Detective
Okay.
Rowe included a note that if I had any questions on how to play these, or how to if I had any questions, basically for me to contact him, which I did. I haven't heard back from him yet. I don't know what his schedule is, but as soon as I hear back from him, I'll definitely, get these going.
Yeah, there's definitely no audio. I'm convinced of that. One of these programs, the BLC should play these files, but it won't. I've tried multiple things and followed all the directions that I can find. Won't play.
And I did too. I was going back and forth. So
It's really frustrating.
it is, after waiting 3 months for these. It is really frustrating, because I thought I had I thought I had my work cut out for me this weekend, and I even sent you the message like, "Hey, I got them."
Right.
And
Right. That was fantastic. When you finally get your open records request, and you think you've got something that you can listen to and glean more information. And you could, if we could hear the damn thing.
And Jack, have you put that on a speed? Because if you watch the video, it's like they've put it on like 2 times speed or something like that as well. It's no playing like normally, or is it just me?
No, it's sped up.
it's sped up
Yeah.
a little bit. And
I,
while
I sped that up. That was me.
That was you, right? That's why I was asking. And I'm like, so there's no audio, and they've sped it up. What are they playing at? That's why
No.
I asked. Was that you that did that, or am I seeing things?
I'll put it back. I'll put it back to normal speed.
By the way, since you have this video up here, and that's Jasmine Parker, by the way, it's my understanding that the police, after Nicole was found, they never went to Jasmine's trailer where the actual crime took place. And it's my understanding as well that Jasmine's mother sold the trailer with all its contents within a month or two of this event happening.
Jack, did you see Travis's comment?
I did not.
He says, "Can you upload those in the Dropbox? I can try some of the players I have from law enforcement that will play."
Well, that's up to Amy. If she agrees, I can send him the link to Google Drive.
Yeah. Because those files. I had a hard enough time sending you those files, so I wouldn't know how to put those in our Dropbox.
Yeah, I'll send you the Google link, Travis.
How much of the domestic violence history was brought in to her trial? Any of it?
Not really, no. No.
Okay, that's a huge drop ball by the defense then, because anyone who understands the dynamic between an abuser and his victim, especially the way this sounds, would understand why maybe certain things could have happened in that trailer that Ashely had no control over.
Right, exactly. And I mean, when you speak with her family, I mean, her dad had encounters with him. I mean, her dad held a bow and arrow to his head at one point. I mean, Garrett was a relentless individual, and when he was on drugs, he was pretty much crazed. So and because I had a sister that, for years was in a domestic violence situation, and she had 3 boys and ultimately lost her life. We could not we could not help her. And especially in a small town like this where incidents like this happen and he's turned right back around and let out, most women in those circumstances tend to end up, they feel safer just being submissive than trying to get away, because they always say leaving the situation can be the worst part of the relationship.
Amy, Travis is asking, did Garrett say he was tweaking at the time?
I'm sure he was. I am sure he was, because according to Mikey Hiddle, they were all smoking meth. I believe they were smoking meth at Mikey Hiddle's house. That's what they went to Jason Palladino's to get. Now, see, there were no drugs at Jasmine Parker's that morning. That's why Garrett left with Mikey Hiddle, to drive the hour drive to Palladino's to get the drugs. And then from there, they went to Mikey Hiddle's house and were there for hours.
But did he testify that he was?
I don't know if he did or not. We haven't gotten the transcripts yet, those full transcripts. Remember, that was where I think we talked about that last week in open mic after YouTube. Remember, we were talking about the fact that there was a, what was I going to say? Motion that, I just completely lost my train of thought. I'm sitting here going through these papers and I lost my train of thought that fast.
It happens. We all do it.
Yeah, we were talking about it last week, though, about the what was going on at Mikey Hiddle's house and the drugs and whatnot. And I forget where I was going with that, but it'll come back to me, I'm sure.
Travis is saying there had to be some of the domestic violence, because it's mentioned in the Court of Appeals opinion. So some of it made it in.
It was allegedly. It was if you read the appeals, it states allegedly. Because it had not gone to trial yet in Carroll County, it was considered, I don't know how the courts in Newton County, I don't know how that works there, but it states allegedly.
Well, it's normally if there's an ongoing investigation, and I think this is no matter where it is, whether it's here in the UK or whether it's America, if it is an ongoing investigation, then they don't say anything about it. They say, I can't say anything because it's an ongoing investigation. So that could be the reason why it only says allegedly in the appeals papers, because it was still in the process of going to court. So it was still in litigation, so it's still an ongoing investigation, so they couldn't really talk about it. I mean, that's my opinion anyway.
Right, but there was no reason for that case to be drug out for over a year. That domestic violence case was drug out. That domestic violence case happened in January of 2019. It was finally dismissed in October of 2020. I believe that it might have been an investigator, or I don't believe that it was Garrett, because Garrett, he blames Ashely. You know, like when Garrett retells the story of him and Ashely getting into it, he was always the victim. He claims that on January 21st, they got into a fight because he wanted to borrow her phone. He failed to mention that he broke the lock on the back door of her house and hid in a closet for hours. And that's not coming just from Ashely. Well, first of all, we have the charges in his case summary that reflect what he did on the 21st of January. But even her family, her stepfather owned that property. And I've spoken with him numerous times, and he's told me what was done to that trailer before Ashely got home. What Garrett
All right. Right. Travis says it comes in as testimony at trial for someone doesn't have anything to do with the course. Someone had to testify about the violence. So an investigator or Garrett.
Right, and he's probably, I'm sure he's right. We won't know until we get all of the, we won't know until we get her whole file,
Right. Right.
exactly what it is. That's what I was going to talk about, because we talked about this last week. Remember when I was discussing the fact that the court reporter had filed an entry on this case, in Ashley's case, that her transcripts were uploaded to a
Yes.
CD and sent to the Court of Appeals,
Yes.
but the clerk of courts is saying that they don't have it on a CD. That's where I was going with that when we were talking about the transcripts.
Yeah, and that you had to do you couldn't get this stuff electronically, which is complete.
I had to go there. Now the transcripts, yes. The motions, the pretrial motions and things like that, no, that's Newton County is saying that I have to come up in person. So I guess that's what I'll have to do.
Yeah, that's right, because I sent you the link to the state whatever that controls that to give them a call
Right.
and say, look, this county's saying I have to drive. I mean, what if you lived in California? It's absolutely
Right.
ridiculous.
Right. But there's enough information that I have in hand already. Well, I mean, Jack, you see in the Dropbox all of the documents that we have, and
Oh yeah.
you can see where all of this went awry and how the conspiracy charge is just completely not. There was no conspiracy, and without the conspiracy, there was no plea planning for her to participate in a murder.
Right.
And I think at the point of trial, after all of this that transpired and the media and how she was talked about and demeaned and degraded, and her family, going through all of that, she was just ready for it to be over and was willing to take the plea to assisting a criminal because she didn't go directly to the police. But honest to gosh, she couldn't. He was not letting her. It took a man with a gun to Garrett's head to make him leave her alone and leave the property, and then he take her home himself. And that's what it came to. So I don't even believe that she was guilty of that.
Well, I
It's
hope
just sad.
that
It's sad for everybody.
it is. It really is. When you have relevant information that's left out of pretrial and trial material, it so distorts the case, and it's really difficult to get that
It is.
in. It is so hard because nobody wants to listen to it. They say, "Oh, well, this person's guilty. You can just look at this, and this," and
Right.
you're saying, yet the jury didn't get to hear, or the judge didn't get to see this, and this.
Right.
I mean,
and no one wants to hear it. I mean, you could have it in black and white, and there's a story embedded in certain people's minds. It's just like in the Stephen Avery case.
Sure.
I mean, until you get in behind and you get down into the roots and the facts of the case, and you really go behind the scenes and listen to his jail calls, you can time up what Ken Kratz was doing weekly by what Stephen was talking about on the phone. Like they were so corrupt. And I'm not necessarily saying that Newton County is corrupt. I'm saying Ashley was a slam dunk, easy case to convict. Nobody was watching. She didn't have the money to go out and hire a powerful defense attorney. She had an inexperienced public defender, and it happens all the time. That doesn't take away what happened to the victim in this case at all, but somebody else doesn't need to be a victim either.
And that's the whole point. Go ahead, Sam.
So, understanding that there's folks, at least in chat, that are members of Nicole's family or friends or people connected on that side. What is it that solidifies Ashley's guilt in their minds? If any of them can drop that into chat, I'm just kind of curious, because I would hope that nobody would want to take somebody like Garrett's word for anything, and you shouldn't. So I'm just kind of curious of whether it was something that happened at trial, aside from body language. That's a tough one to really judge in that kind of situation. So if there was just any particular fact or any particular scenario or situation that kind of solidifies the guilt in their mind where Ashley's concerned.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought there, Sapper. And,
Right.
just to answer from my point of view, it was probably not, this is speculatory theory, whatever you want to call it. But when you have the media reporting X, Y, and Z against this person, that's what I was talking about before. That creates a perception automatically. They're drug addict. This person's Amy said a minute ago. Amy was a person of low income. She'd have means and a way of getting a proper defense that would, actually dig under the layers and get the information, or at least try to get the information into trial or pre-trial. But all that folks that are in the live chat answer.
Right. I mean, personally, from my take on it, because I followed this case long before I ever reached out to Ashley. And, I just always had, and just based on the fact of the other cases that I have followed, especially Stephen and Brendan's case, I know what can transpire behind, the scenes.
Closed doors, absolutely.
Right. And there was just something about the fact that Ashley had never really spoke out. It made absolutely no sense to me that all of these people were in this 900 square foot trailer and no one but Garrett saw or heard anything. And then out of nowhere, he starts blaming Ashley and saying that she was helping him. Then he lets the cat out of the bag and tries to say that someone ordered him to kill Nicole. Yet it's reported in the media and a lot of other places that this was a love triangle. Ashley was jealous of Nicole. Yes, Nicole was a beautiful girl. The love triangle to me is that is such a fabrication of the facts of the case. When you go back and you look at the history of the relationship between Ashley and Garrett, they're taking Garrett's word for it because Garrett is the only one who was out there in a public forum having a voice. And everyone knows, you can listen from one interview to the next how he flip-flops and lies and changes stories. And one minute it was, well, me and my new girlfriend went over to this trailer where Ashley was for me to pick up my clothes. Like, he wanted people to believe that he actually lived there. And him and his girlfriend were innocently going there to pick up clothes, and Nicole and Ashley get into a fight. He goes from A to Z in a matter of like 6 interviews.
Yep.
And yet walks into a courtroom and says this, months after the fact, and everyone goes, oh, that's it. Everybody wanted someone to blame. And Ashley was the patsy in all of that.
Oh yeah, juries, and judges, they want to pin the tail on the donkey. They want to blame someone for someone's death. Always, that's the goal. A resolution, a finality, I guess they call it.
Well, and I hate to say it, but in too many cases, especially when you're talking about the drug community as a whole, they are not viewed as being anything of value. And if the more of them you can take off the street, the better. And it doesn't really matter how you do that.
Right. And I agree with GP in the chat. I don't think it was Nicole snitching on drugs. I don't think that. I think that I think they were afraid Nicole was going to tell about Ray. But I do know that Nicole did write a statement when they were arrested at Tippecanoe County that there were drugs in the car, and she pointed the finger that the drugs belonged to Garrett. I don't think it was a huge amount of drugs, but I just think the simple fact that she said, hell, those are his, not mine. That right there, that is, when it comes to Garrett, that is the tipping point of his aggression to anyone. The second you go against him, you are written off, you're done. And that right there, on top of the police showing up at Ashley's house looking for him, I also believe the police were looking for Nicole at some of her family members' house in connection with Ray. I think they were all panicking because they had all been at Ray's house, and the fact that the police had came out and said he died of natural causes, they all thought they were off the hook except for the one person that they did not think they could trust, and that was Nicole. Because she whether she had a heart and would have ever spoke out about what happened there, I don't know. But the fact that Ashley did not know Jasmine Parker, yet Jasmine allowed this to go on in her house. She shut Ashley in a bedroom and said, "You don't need the lights on to cry," and turned the lights off and slammed the door. Jasmine was involved for a reason, and I believe that reason is she was partying at Ray's with the rest of them.
I mean, it's not just that. It's if they were all smoking meth and everything like that, and they've been doing it for a long time, paranoia would have crept in. And
Right.
if the police are going to Ashley's looking for him, going to Nicole's and family and things like that, or friends and things like that, looking for him, and this has got back to him, then the paranoia that he probably would have had. Now, I'm just speculating here, but the paranoia that he would have had would have been way over the scale, because why are the police looking at who's snitched him in, who's thrashing on him? Is it Ashley? Is it Nicole? You know what I mean? And that could have been a scenario, and he's probably jumped to the conclusion that it's Nicole. And if his paranoia is up that high, God knows what he would have been capable of.
Right. Well, I know that Garrett had also threatened Nicole on Facebook shortly before this happened. So I don't know why. I mean, the day that on March 29th, when Mikey said that they were going down the gravel drive and Nicole was pulling in. Now you have to remember, according to Talitha, Nicole lived with her. Talitha and Nicole are friends, and Talitha even allowed this to happen. Like the whole scenario only makes sense when you look at the big picture and you take what transpired before and what transpired after, and then you take the situation at Ray's and who was involved there and who wasn't, and how this group of people came to be about at this one place, and Ashley was taken there and left there for hours, and then those three come walking in. I mean, there's been more to this story, and that is why, all those months ago, I reached out to Ashley thinking, to be honest, I'll be literally flat out honest with you. I never expected her to come at me like, I did not kill Nicole. I did not hurt her. I did not do this. And I listened and listened, and she just kept talking and talking, and I started looking into what she was saying, and from all the way from the beginning till now, it's led me here.
Yeah.
I normally follow cases. I don't normally get in them.
Oh, when it hooks you, Amy, it hooks you, and it hooks you good. GP in chat says, do I believe Garrett is capable of beating up Ashley? Absolutely can. He definitely has a past. Yeah, by the sounds of it, he sure does. But it's a pity that this pattern of violence and everything like that wasn't brought into court in Ashley's case. In Ashley's case, I don't understand that, because there's clearly a pattern with this Garrett, and I completely believe that he killed Nicole.
Right, and he did it on his own accord, and I think that the others knew what what his intentions were. And even Mikey Hiddle was going to testify that and Mikey Hiddle had never met Garrett before until until March 29th, when Jasmine called him and said, "Hey, my friend needs a ride to go pick up, drugs." So he willingly came over, and he said Ashely was not happy to be there. She wanted to leave. She was arguing with Garrett, like, "Why can't I go home? Let me just ride with you." And he's like, "I'll take you home when we get back." Garrett hops in the car, and the whole entire drive to Jason Palladino's, all Garrett is doing is talking about this girl, Nicole, that he wants to kill. Those are not my words. Those are a witness's words who spent the day with Garrett, Talitha, and Nicole.
Yeah, Travis is put in chat. Over the course of 2 months, Gareth, Kurt's friend Jason Palladino had a quote unquote a couple of conversations about quote getting rid of Bowen. And then he says on March 29th, 2019, Kurt's, Bowen, and Talitha Beckley were at Palladino's house. Palladino told Kurtz that they had to, quote, to make a decision, unquote, that Bowen has to go and that it's got to be done. At that point, Kurtz drove Bowen to Beckley in Bowen's car to a trailer in Kentland where Gareth was. So
Right, yes, Travis, you are correct. That is the appeals summary, and that is incorrect. That is not what transpired. According to Mikey Hiddle, who drove Garrett to Palladino's house, Nicole was not there. They went there to buy drugs. They got the drugs. Talitha was there. Talitha got in the car with Garrett and Mikey to leave. As they were leaving and going down the long gravel drive, Mikey said 3/4 of the way down the road, Nicole pulled in. Nicole lived there. She lived on the property with Talitha. Mikey stopped the car. Garrett gets out. He gets in Nicole's car. And from there, they go to Mikey Hiddle's house. So according to the witness who was there, who was never put on the stand by the state, Nicole was not in the trailer with Talitha and Garrett and Palladino. She wasn't there until they were on their way out of the drive and she pulled in. And it was from Mikey Hiddle's house that Garrett, Talitha, and Nicole drove to Jasmine's late that night at almost midnight. So that's even incorrect.
Yeah, that's what Travis is saying. He's saying that's not me that's saying that. That's the Court of Appeal summarising.
Well, I'm guessing that's Garrett's testimony.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. And then he says that came in the trial. Garrett.
He didn't testify.
And see, the thing is, though, right? And he didn't. He testified in Ashley's trial. But see, the thing is, though, that's not even, that is the most peculiar thing about this whole thing. That is not even Ashley's version of events, because Ashely was left at the trailer. Garrett got in the car with Mikey and drove to Palladino's, which is almost an hour away. And from there, they went to Mikey Hiddle's apartment. Ashely had no idea what Mikey Hiddle was going to testify to because Ashely wasn't with them. Ashely did not know Mikey. Ashely didn't know Jasmine. And Mikey even says, I had never even met Ashely or Garrett until that day when my friend Jasmine called me over to pick up her friend Garrett to give him a ride. So this wasn't even Ashley's version of events. And what's even worse about this is that not only did Mikey not take the stand in the case, he claims that he went into the prosecutor's office and gave an interview that was recorded by the prosecutor's office that Ashely claims she never even heard and does not believe it's in her discovery because she never was aware of it. And then he turned around a year after Ashley's trial and did an interview on another YouTube channel talking about all of this. That's how I found out what his testimony was going to be. And I reached out and I've had conversations with him. And this is what he's saying. So that's not even Ashley's version of events. This is a witness who was never put on the stand, who was literally in part of this story that nobody else that wasn't charged in this case. So he really has no dog in this fight whatsoever. He wasn't friends with Garrett. He wasn't friends with Talitha or Palladino or any of them. I don't know what it was at Garrett. I don't know what it was at trial that Garrett said. I know that Garrett at trial was cussing at Ashley's attorney. I guess he was a little bit irate and out of control and disrespectful. So I'm not really sure, other than the fact that he claimed that he told Ashley to hand him a cord, and she did, and then she pulled on it so tight it snapped. But originally he said that he did it. And then it was a scarf. Like his version of the story changed so much. I don't think he could really keep it straight. And I honestly think that at that point in time, that late in the game, I believe that he could have probably said anything and they would have just believed it, because everybody at that point in time, I think, already had chalked it up that Ashley was guilty, just based on all of the hoopla and all of the speculation around the case. But most of this that we're talking about right now never came out at her trial.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a prosecutor's dream. You know, I can just get all these druggies to flip on each other, get 2 or 3 or maybe more guilty verdicts into my CV, and I'm good to go. That's great. I'm not gonna, and I don't have to put a whole lot of effort into proving any of it. Even better.
Right. And and then you've got Jasmine Parker, who this happened at her house. And Ashley was left at her house all day and all that evening, and she's never even brought into the courtroom either to testify, and she's given immunity in this case.
Yeah, exactly, Travis. Unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, and a good portion of this has to start with whoever the officers are that are involved, because I have to imagine Garrett is well known to law enforcement. I'd have to imagine, Nicole and Ashley and everybody else is known to law enforcement. So you would have to hope that these cops would know that this Garrett is full of shit. He's going to lie, and unfortunately, that's a common theme among the drug community. Is you're going to find very, very little actual truth in those scenarios. So,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But the truth lies somewhere, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. And I'll be, wherever it leads, I'm willing to go. And even, I would have never spoke out on anything like this if I did not feel wholeheartedly, based on everything that I have come across. And there's still a lot of things here that I'm not going to speak on until I have the actual documents in front of me.
I was gonna talk to you about documentation, and
it's huge.
Well, it is, but deciding on a place to start. Of course, police reports and that kind of thing are generally much cheaper, cost wise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a cost involved in this, and you have to be willing to to go that expense. But it's a real thing. Court record transcripts in Indiana, $1.75 a page. Another thing that it really strikes me here about what you were told, that you have to physically come pick this stuff up. What if a person's disabled and they can't do it? What if they're, they just absolutely, they can't drive, they don't have a driver's license. And that's why this tells me that I don't know what they're doing, but I don't really think it's true. right?
Well, and I keep getting, and I'm not saying that it's intentional, but there's a lot of counties involved here. I mean, you've got
Sure.
Carroll County, you've got Newton County, you've got White County, you've got Jasper County. Now the case that was in the case where Garrett was arrested after the fact in Nicole's car where he ran from the police, that's in Jasper County. Then I was told that report and the audio and stuff from that event was actually on Lafayette. So I put in, you go through the process of what they tell you that you have to do, and you go through it, you mail it in because they want everything mailed in. You go through that, and then you don't get a response, and then when you reach back out, you're told, oh, well, that's not on us. I'm told for a third time it's on a whole nother county. So I'm just, we're just getting started with all of this, and
It's really
I'm
frustrating.
starting to, it is very frustrating. It is. So I'm not saying that they're doing it on purpose. I'm not going to I'm
Well,
not going to point that finger yet, because like I said last week, I have to play nice in order to get the things that I'm entitled to,
well, sure. You want to
legally.
be, yeah, you want to be, civil with these people and let them do their job. I get it, sure. But the problem, lies in when
Uh,
someone tells you that you have to physically drive to a county, even though you could be in Timbuktu and disabled and can't drive. So what's that situation like? And that's why I said I just don't believe as a United States citizen that's correct. As far as the other, I don't know about Indiana, and I'm like you. I don't want to call anyone out for doing this, that, or the other thing. But I'm telling
mhm.
you, these law enforcement counties will play games. They'll play
Well,
games around the records request about how you word something to a specific
mhm.
county. But if something
We can
happened
see them.
in well, yeah, I mean,
We
if
can
something
see them
happened
as
in,
videos.
yeah, I mean, if this one county say, oh, well, that's in another county that they've got those records. That's possible that something happened in that county and all the files got forwarded to whatever county, Lafayette or wherever you said. It's possible. What you truly need is a compilation of record, and there's a way to get that. So we can talk about that later.
We'll talk about that on the, yeah. But Travis, that when you talk about the cord getting retested, absolutely. But I do know that there were issues raised. Well, I don't know if it was actually, I won't know until I get the transcripts, but I do know that between Ashley and her attorney, there were issues raised during the trial because the prosecutor was handling all of the evidence in the courtroom with no gloves on.
Wow,
That's worrisome. That's worrisome.
that's really worrisome. Why would he do that?
Yeah, and why? And her attorney Ashley was sitting there. Remember when I talked to you about the yellow legal tablet?
Yep,
She
I think so.
she had talked about. Okay, that yellow. She is so worried that something happened to that yellow legal tablet that she had at trial because she said she used every single page. Like, what are you doing? Why are you not objecting to him touching this stuff? Because she's a smart enough person that she's I think leading up to her trial, she was doing a lot of things behind the scenes to kind of educate herself to figure out, I know that she was emailing her attorney constantly like, hey, are we going to meet and discuss my case before my trial?
Yeah,
And Lori just kept saying, well, I'm waiting on these documents, I'm waiting on this to happen. um, and she said that they really did not sit down and really discuss her case until the week of.
that's terrible.
It was
I mean,
terrible.
Well,
she sounds like an
that's
ambulance
kind of
chaser.
that's kind of typical for a public defender case.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all. So trying to kind of understand where this is at. Is this still in the direct appeals process, or has she entered the post conviction process yet?
The clock has stopped on the post conviction relief. She does have a new public defender that was assigned to her case. He filed a motion with the court for a stay because he's unable to take on her caseload right now. I have spoken with him, and he says that as soon as her file is up, in their office to be handled, it will go to the first available attorney. So he has not even made the request yet from her original public defender to get her case filed.
So she's going to get stuck with some other useless public defender for her post-conviction process.
At the moment, yes. And he was assigned her case. It'll be 2 years ago this February.
Because I'm hearing a pretty clear case for IAC. And
counsel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe she'll get a one of these fireballs. That's somebody that's really interested and will dig.
Okay, I need some. Yeah, KZ for sure.
Well, that would be great. But I mean, there are some public defenders out there that become their own, hang their own shingle, but they remember the days of their public defender.
Mm-hmm.
Just you never know.
Right, and that's what we're hoping for. I mean, all of the stuff that we're doing behind the scenes here is, it's not for, it is what it is, and we'll keep pushing forward, and hopefully we can get her case out of the public defender's office.
That'd be great. That'd be nice if somebody would pick this up pro bono.
Right.
All right. I don't know where you want to go with this, Amy. We've been going a couple hours.
No, we're good. I can go. I have to get up at 3 a.m. So.
Oh wow! Holy crap! So you got to get some
That's my work
things
schedule.
done. Yeah, I'm thinking you've got to get some stuff done and get to bed. So.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and I'm sure this week we'll be in touch. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and then as soon as I hear back from Detective Rowe on those audio files, I'll let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to correct that from my end. I don't know. I'll send Travis the links to those videos. Maybe he can do something with it with his software that I don't have access to. So
okay,
we'll let him take a look and see what he can do.
All righty. Well, thank you guys. And thanks to everybody in the chat for keeping it civil. I'm glad that we can do that. I know it's a hurtful situation. It's all the way around. It's sad. So I have no ill will towards anybody. I'm not doing this because I feel that I'm trying to do anybody a disservice at all.
Absolutely. And that's we understand there's many victims in this case. We understand that, and it's not to be hurtful at all. We understand what loss feels like and this close loss. And I think about my daughter every day, multiple times. It never leaves me. There's no closure. I don't care what anybody ever tells you on TV. There's never closure. And you might be able to close a door on something that happened, an event in that situation, but to close that out, the loss of a child, never happened. So, all right. Well, I want to thank everyone, certainly that's come on Discord to talk about this a little bit more about Ashley's case. Hopefully, we can get more documentation as time goes. Dig a little deeper, see what we can find out. I want to thank everyone in the live chat for being civil. Again, we understand it's polarizing. We get it. We totally get it. It's not our intent to hurt Nicole's family at all, or her friends, or her extended family. Not at all. Not at all. We just want to understand the process. We want to understand the process of Ashley's case. Go ahead, Amy.
And I feel that the people who are responsible are slipping through the cracks. Honestly.
Well, that's what I see too right now. I'm like Sapper and everyone else here. We want to see more, and so we can potentially. I mean, it does sound like she had terrible representation at trial, and in the pretrial they didn't really do anything. I understand the resources are limited, but there are some things that even a public defender can do if they're motivated. There's no doubt.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of what I have uncovered, I have just uncovered from legwork and being persistent and following one lead to another and reaching out. I mean, I've had to contact family members of family members to get in touch with certain people. And, and I don't have the resources that, a lawyer would have, but I was able to do it. And I mean, my phone rang today from someone that I had never even talked to, who from the grapevine reached out to me with information on Ashley's case. And it was big information. And I'm not going to talk about it right now, but I mean, it's not something that it was an epic fail on her attorney's part, unfortunately.
And see, there you go. So, all right, we'll wrap this up here. Again, thanks to everyone. Please give us a like and a share and subscribe if you would, if you feel so motivated. And we'll be back as soon as we can with part 3 with Amy and whoever else wants to join us as soon as we can. With that said,
Right.
I'm going to
Thanks,
say
everybody.
this has
Good
been
night.
this has been a Foul Play production.